Today I will be completing the 2022 October SAT Writing and Language test, part 1, which will include questions 1 through 22. The next video will be part 2, which will include questions 23 to 44 to finish the Writing and Language exam. Lemur's unique stripes. The often striped tail of the primate found only is just one of the animals. While most primates eat only during the day, the lemur eats during the day and at night, comma. So whenever you have it dependent and you want to put a comma, you can add a conjunction, so comma and, while most primates, the lemur, so this works. I think it's a, you don't say and which, the lemur eats during the day and at night, which, while most, that doesn't make sense. So doesn't make sense. And deleting it doesn't make sense. Sorry, one second. I just need to close my window. Okay. 2017 study suggested by an international team of scientists. So a study suggests, not should suggest. It's singular. The study suggests. Okay. Nitrogen, key element, is one of the most important factors in any animal's survival. You don't want to say it, because we're already describing something. No, that's you don't want to say the importance is that. No, that's repetitive. Survival, and it is because, and it, you don't want to say it again. Survival important. No, I think survival as proteins are used for function. Yeah, it just makes sense. It flows more. You don't say the most important factor is any animal survival important since, because you're already talking about the important factors. So. Many primates obtain a large proportion of their, yeah, that sounds good. Get a bunch, that's not formal. Bring in lots, that's not formal. Procure a preponderance, that's too formal actually. You want to just write obtain a large proportion. To get an answer, the scientists tested the levels of nitrogen in fruit from hand. Sites were chosen in continental Africa. Semicolon. Okay, this would work. When would this work? If this was a semicolon, if this was a semicolon, this was a semicolon, and this was a semicolon. That would actually be correct. It's one of the rules. But since we have a comma, we want commas. So it'll be this one. We want continental Africa, comma, South America, comma. It's a list, and Madagascar. Yeah, you don't put, that's the rule. The continental, okay. The continental African sites in Uganda and Cameroon, however, the scientists found respectively, the South yielded similar. So anything with similarity has nothing to do with however. This is the wrong transition word. It's therefore. Therefore, the continent all happen at the continental and African sites in Uganda and Cameroon. Now it's okay. It's not likewise, and it's not however. Is it therefore or delete the portion? Okay, because primarily all have the same relative nitrogen requirements. At the continental African sites in Uganda and Cameroon, the scientists found, yeah, you don't need anything. You're kind of leading to it. The scientists found, yeah, you don't need anything. It just abrupts the sentence. Okay. Okay, wait. So, South American sites yields which nitrogen concentrated in fruit of 1.60% in Ecuador. Okay, that sounds good. And 1.6% in Argentina, right? It's not 1.30%, no. No, it's not. One site in Madagascar. 1.59. Yeah, we could say that about. Yeah. Argentina less than 1%. No, definitely not. They're too close. Madagascar's levels, however, were lower. Yes. Fruit selected from the nitrogen concentration of 0. No, it's higher than that. It's like about 0.9 for both of them. Both showed yes. These data indicated to scientists that the lower levels of nitrogen in Madagascar's fruit likely forced the lemur. Yeah, that sounds good. The data, what is it talking about? The data likely forced the lemurs to start. It's not likely force. Not will, it's not future. R is no. Okay. In addition, the lemur's tendency to eat both day and night may be an adaptation developed due to limited nitrogen. Lemurs may need to eat for more hours per day to meet their dietary needs. As Abigail Derby Lewis, one of the studies, so it's singular. So one of the studies ecologists. So we need an possessive after the Y. So it's studies, and we don't need possessive. This is wrong because it's not possessing anything after that. So it's this. One of the studies ecologists, comma, says, and then you need a comma after says. This is, again, A is wrong because there is, first of all, it's plural and there is a possessive here. Right, well said. Both unique traits have key implications for protecting these endangered primates. Okay, both unique traits. Okay, the key word here, both unique traits. So where do they talk about the traits? After sentence 1, these are in that's not both traits, so I don't think it's before sentence 1 either. Let's see, after sentence 2. In addition, the lemur's tendency to eat both day and night may be an adaptation developed due to limited nitrogen. Lemurs may need to eat for more hours per day to meet their dietary needs. Both unique traits. So the lower levels, they could synthesize protein, and the tendency to be both day and night may be an adaptation. These are the two things, the traits. This works. It follows that. Okay. Bicycling in the Netherlands. Approximately 20. In fact, according to the Netherlands, is one of the two most bike-friendly countries in Europe, sharing top honors with Denmark. Was well known as a cycling hub. Less well known is how that reputation was earned. Yes, it's not a question mark. Because you're not asking a question, you're not just making a statement. How that reputation was earned. You don't say how was that reputation. Because we're talking about the cycling hub of the Netherlands. Like, think about it. Like, while the Netherlands is well known as a cycling hub, less well known is how the reputation was earned of the cycling hub right here. It's not how was that reputation, because this is pronoun we're describing. So precision activism for many years was instrumental in the enduring popularity of, I say. In the early 20th century, the Dutch were cycling enthusiasts. I think that's fine, comma, not only riding, but yeah. I think that's fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. They, okay, you don't want to say they. You don't put a period. It's wrong. This is dependent. Enthusiasts who are not, you don't want to say who. And that's dependent anyways. Okay, yeah. Say 14. Cycling made sense in the fact that as personal income grew in the post-war boom years of the 1950s. Okay, as personal income grew in the post-war boom years of the 1950s and 1960s. In short, you don't say in short or in other words. Car ownership rose sharply, and cars began to eclipse bikes in popularity. Okay, wait. In the earliest 20th century, so the earliest 20th century, Dutch were cycling, not only riding, but so they were manufacturing. Okay, got it. I know the answer. Okay, so they were manufacturing bicycles in large numbers, right? So you saw typically a lot of people riding bicycles during this time. Now look, there's personal income. Look, we're shifting from here. We're shifting from bicycles. So from bicycles, there's a shift to what? Cars. Now you see the post-war boom years here, car ownership, and it began to eclipse So they took over bikes in popularity. So what is that? That's a contrast. In the beginning, you're talking about an increase in bikes popularity. Now you're talking about an increase in cars popularity and a decrease in bikes popularity. So it's not therefore. You're not adding on to it. It's however. It's a contrast. Therefore would be like, okay, it's personal income growth. Therefore, whatever to show similarity, whatever more bikes were being manufactured, whatever, blah blah blah. But it's not a contrasting word. It's a word that adds on to it is similarity. Okay, the point the writer is considering adding the following sentence. One type of bicycle probably with the was known as the grandma bike. Okay. Along with more cars came in a lightning spike in traffic accident on air. She's not designed to accommodate large number of cars. I don't see any importance of this. We're not talking about the types of cars. We're just talking about here the traffic accidents, and we were talking in this whole paragraph. We were talking about the cars increase and the bikes decrease. We had nothing to do with the types of bikes. So yeah, it's not. Oh, sorry. Just my paper fell. Okay, it has nothing to do with the type of bicycles. So no, there is no reason to make this addition. On the history of cycling, yes, and again, the history of cycling was the kind of the up and down growth of the bicycle's popularity. No, because it doesn't. Oh, sorry. No, because it doesn't sufficiently support the claim that Oma Fiats. Okay, that was never mentioned in the paragraph. Oma Fiats. Oma Fiats is the grandma bike. They never talked about it, the grandma bike, in this paragraph. So it cannot be answer choice D. By the 1970s, concerned citizens started organizing demonstrations to promote safety for cyclists and pedestrians. They declared car-free holidays, closing our street. They organized mass bike rides. They wrote public. Okay, well, those are examples. They wrote protests on and serenaded the prime minister outside his residence. Residence, where he lived, not residence. And there's no reason to be possessive. It's not residence is like a group of people. And again, there's no possessive here. You're outside his residence, his home, his wherever he lived. Tom Gush, whatever, a longtime member of the Dutch cyclists. Yeah, you see there's a apostrophe possessive here because it's the plural. It's cyclist, more than one. It's not like if it was singular, it would have been here, cyclist. So if that would mean if it was before the S, that would mean that this man, that he was the only member of the cyclists union. But this shows that there's many more members and he's just one of them. Okay, so there's a comma here. Another member of the. Okay, yes, again, this is a modifying phrase. A way to check if a modifying phrase works is that we can blur this out. So just ignore this and see if the sentence would make sense. Okay, Tom recalls that the activist efforts often led to good publicity. Does that make sense? Yes. Tom, he recalled that the activists, yes, you don't, so this works. When that happens, that means that we have to put a comma here. That means, so we can't just leave a comma here and put no comma here, because then it wouldn't be a modifying phrase. Modifying phrase is between two commas. So yeah, we need a comma, first of all, yeah. Longtime member of the Cyclist Union. Okay, yeah, so this is not talking about possession. Okay, I was wrong. It's only talking about the modifying. Okay, so that means we just need a comma. We don't need a comma after this. We need a comma after this. Because it wouldn't make sense if we did like this. If you were to put it here, Tom, whatever, and then you would say this word recalls that. It doesn't make sense. Because this is describing this. So this has to be together. So it has to be union, that, and comma. This is incorrect. And this is incorrect. It has to be A, right? Yes, there's a comma there. Okay. Okay. We had a great fighting spirit. We knew how to voice our ideas. Recalls that the activist efforts often led to good publicity. These citizens express sometimes playful tactics. It doesn't make sense. Why would we put it there? After sentence 1, by the 19th century started organized demonstrations to promote safety for cyclists and pedestrians. These citizens expressed their serious concerns using various intensive, sometimes playful tactics. Okay, what were the tactics? Car-free holidays, mass bike rides, protest songs. Yeah, these were the various intensive, playful tactics. Makes sense. I agree. So, no, okay, another way. They declared car free. So usually when the sentences they're like connected to each other. So like for example, this is saying they declared car, they organized. So these are connected. These are just adding on to each other. When we usually have sentences that close bonded to each other, you don't want to put something in between it because it wouldn't make sense. So you wouldn't want to say they declared car free holidays, closing off streets and hosting street parties. These citizens expressed their serious concerns using, and then say, and the same again here. They organized mass bike rides. These citizens expressed their various concerns using various, sometimes playful tactics. They wrote protest songs and serenaded the prime ministers outside his residence. These citizens expressed their serious concerns. Blah blah blah. So when those sentences are in like close, like um they're closely related to each other. You don't want to put something in between it to kind of like abrupt the meaning and stuff like that, to detract from the focus. And then sentence 5 was wrong, I said, because a longtime member of the Dutch calls that the activists' efforts often this is basically saying after what this is saying. You don't want to put this because this is already explaining the effects of this. So yeah, that doesn't make sense to do after sentence 5. As the 1980s approached, local governments began to respond to demonstrations by Fears Mom and other groups by funding projects to improve the nation's cycling infrastructure. As a result, more people... Okay, sorry about that. As a result of the improved infrastructure, more people were encouraged to use... Sorry about my dogs barking. As a result of the improved infrastructure, more people were encouraged to... but in addition... Okay, you don't want to say in addition. This is a really good sentence on its own if it was an answer choice. Infrastructure, along with the improvements came with the encouragement. Yeah, you don't want to say that. And along with the improvements, it would be a comma there. Actually, no, actually not. Just this doesn't just. It's adding. It's clunky. It's just a lot of stuff that's unneeded. As a result, infrastructure which was accompanied by more people. You don't want to say this, which was accompanied by more people, because we're already talking about the funding projects and what people would do. So no, this is implying already that the people provided, which in turn so what was the effect, which in turn is the same thing as saying as a result. So that's why I said this was originally good. The improvements made cycling easier and safer. Which choice provided them? Bike lanes or racks appeared, many of which feature speed bumps in turn that force cars. Okay. This is not an example. Cycling was preferred to driving by large. That's not an example. That's not an example. Bicycle mass or clearly. Yes, this is an example. It's adding on to what the city's kind of funding caused. So it was the bike lanes and racks appeared on city streets, many of which feature speed bumps and turns that force cars to drive. And then bicycle paths were clearly marked, well maintained, and well lit. Okay, to drive. Bike lanes and racks appeared on city streets, many of which feature speed bumps and turns that force cars to drive more slowly than they would on streets with the... Okay, that's just too much. Slowly in the streets and yield. Yield to what? What are you yielding to? You have to yield to something. And yield to slightly, yeah. To drive slowly and you're yielding. You can't just say you're going to yield, but you have to yield to something. They yield to the cyclist. It would drive slowly and force them. That's the problem with this, force them to yield. We can just say slowly and yield because it's already mentioned here that they force them. That's just repeating it. Okay, promoting cycling continues to be a national priority. To correct positive and improve action, but challenges remain. Fieldman now more than 34,000 members of 30. Yes. You don't want to say of strength, strengthen. Usually, this is idiom. It's hard. You just, the way I do these is just sound it out in your head. Fieldman now more than 34,000 members of strength. No, not of strength. More than 34,000 members strong. It's not strong. Okay, this you can definitely agree. It's not enough strongness. You don't want to say that. Fieldman now more than 34,000 members strong. So it's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just an idiom question that you have to sound out in your brain. If you read like books, like you would see kind of the same idea of this. Like Fieldman is talking about an organization now more than 34,000 members strong, continues to advocate for. You don't want to say strengthened.